I'd like to welcome you to our walk through Romans. Let me just remind you that I am not here to teach in depth the book of Romans. It would take hours upon hours upon hours to teach in depth what the Apostle Paul wrote. So keep this in mind. I am here just to present to you like a foundation for you to take it and study it yourself, for you to take it and look at it and pray over it and ask God to show you personally. You know, let me just say something. One of my concerns is that people just take what someone says from the pulpit and they just sit on it. And they never meditate on it. They never make it part of themselves. They don't ever discuss it with someone else. They don't ever talk about it. They just take it, and then the next week they get another one, and the next week they get another one, and then another one, and another one. But they've never really taken it for themselves and made it part of their life. We're not here to give you a lot of information. We're here to give you a foundation on which you can study the book of Romans. Now, Romans, the 11th chapter, verse number 11, the Gentiles. Paul is talking now about the Gentiles. And he says, "And I say then that they did not stumble so as to fall," did they? May it never be. "But in their transgression, salvation has come to the Gentiles to make them jealous." What's the Apostle Paul saying? The Apostle Paul is not saying that Israel has stumbled and fallen into a place of hopelessness. We need to understand that Israel still has a very special place in God's eyes. And so he says, "I say then, they did not stumble as to fall." Did they? No. May it never be. There's that phrase again, may it never be. Israel has not fallen away from God's love and God's care. But he goes on and he says, "But their transgression." Now this word transgression, their transgression, and the word transgression means to fall beside or near something. It means to lapse or deviate from truth. How many of you ever watched someone driving down the road and they go over the center line? What are they doing? They are transgressing the center line. They're deviating away. And so the Apostle Paul writes, and he says, "But their transgression," their deviation from the truth, their transgression is salvation. Salvation has come to the Gentiles. Because of Israel's rejection of God, God is saying, you know what? This is my plan. Now I can bring salvation to the Gentiles. Aren't you glad about that? And then the last part of verse number 11, to make them jealous. To make them jealous. Verse number 12. "Now if their transgression is riches for the world, and their failure is riches for the Gentiles, how much more will their fulfillment be?" Let me just say this. God's pouring out his goodness upon the Gentiles. Why is he doing this? He's doing this so that the Jews will see the blessing of God upon the Gentiles. Now if their transgression is riches for the world, and their failures is riches for the Gentiles, how much more will their fulfillment be? God is drawing the nation of Israel back to himself. He's saying to them, look at the blessings that I'm giving the Gentiles. Look at the riches that I'm giving to the world, through the cosmos. Not to the earth, but to the world. Look at what I'm doing in giving them grace and allowing them to come into my presence. By the way, that is the greatest riches that a person would ever experience. It's not only money and gold and silver. Those things are very temporal. But it's having a good conscience, knowing that you stand before God. That's the riches that the Apostle Paul is talking about. He's talking about that the children of Israel are looking at the Gentiles, and they're seeing the Gentiles in relationship with God by His grace. Wow. You know what? We as Gentiles need to be displaying that riches much better than what we're doing right now. And then the end of verse number 12 says, how much more in their fulfillment? God's bringing Israel back. He's bringing them back. Now verse 13. But I am speaking to you who are Gentiles. What's he doing? The Apostle Paul now is talking to the Gentiles. And he says this, inasmuch then as I am an apostle to the Gentiles, I magnify my ministry. I am speaking to you. What's Paul doing? Paul's saying, I'm Jewish. I'm not a Gentile, but I'm speaking to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am an apostle. So here is a Jewish man who is an apostle, a person sent by God to establish the Christian faith in the lives of Gentiles. Wow. And then Paul ends verse number 13 by saying this. He says, I magnify my ministry. I want you to look at my ministry. Verse number 14. If somehow I might move to jealousy my fellow countrymen and save some of them. What's Paul doing? Paul's saying, I'm magnifying. I want them to look at my ministry so that I can move the Jewish people, my countrymen, and save some of them, not all of them. Notice he said some of them. Verse number 15. If their rejection is the reconciliation of the world, what will their acceptance be but life from the dead? What's Paul saying? Paul's saying, you know what? God is going to make an example out of Israel. And he is going to raise up Israel again. And it's going to be like life from the dead. Wow. Join us tomorrow. We're going to continue with verse 16 tomorrow. I hope that this has blessed you. Thank you for watching.